Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Towns. In the previous episode we started setting up a new town in the southwest desert from which we will build a nice big defensive wall to stop the biters from colonising the area around Chipton and causing us all sorts of trouble there. And it's also going to be producing some power suits to help us deal with biter bases in general. So we're up in Fortin right now sorting out the train to deliver some ammo and coal and such down. We'll get that running to its first destination there and start delivering all the ammo and stuff needed to keep the turrets operational. We're going to need huge amounts really. It's probably going to take a while to sort of build up the supply we need, but we do have nearly all 4 ammo assemblers running all the time. It's not quite all of them because we're sort of limiting it still to sort of 8 of each kind of furnace, which comes out at like 3.5 assemblers worth or something like that. But before we can take the train down to the new town, there's a little bit of business we need to deal with first in the north, because there's been a biter base attacking Ironwood, and Ironwood is not really in any sort of fit state to deal with biter attacks. It's only got 2 turrets, I think, and the wall is incomplete, and I don't really want to change that right now, because it's nice with all the trees and such. At some point, once we actually need a continuous iron supply from there for something, we'll start setting up the defences more. But in the meantime, I would like to stop the biters from attacking it, because it's not even Ironwood's pollution that is causing the attacks. It's coming from Fortin and Redport and things like that. And after a quick look at the map, I see that there's a nice little path that I can use to sort of sneak around this lake and get to the base. And there's only a couple of bases that we need to deal with on our way there. So one of them is right by this sort of little pathway in the lake that we'll sort out. And it only takes 2 passes, and we have to run over a couple of big worms. And just as we do that, we get some more signs done. I think we're now down to sort of 1 row of research at this point, but that does include a lot of repeating researches, like the destroyer drone. What is it called? The limit on it, how many you can have, going up to 134. So that'll use up plenty of our research for the moment. And a fair bit into the future as well. But we make our way over the little gap, and I realise after someone pointed it out before when I was trying to sort of sneak into a bit of land sticking into the lake in the west, that I could actually just pick up the tank and walk across, and then I wouldn't have to worry about the tank getting stuck. And so that's what I do this time round, where I'm pretty sure the gap was too small to take the tank through it all. And of course on our way back we can just pick it up again and carry it over as long as we have enough inventory space and everything. But we take out another base over here. There's a sort of loose chain going down to the one that we're aiming for, and it sort of sticks out a bit into the lake, and it's the reason that that the pollution has got to it, because this is a nice foresty area where there's a lot more pollution absorption, but I think water might not absorb pollution, or absorb it really a really small amount, so the pollution is able to just leap straight across the lake as it's doing in the deserts and stuff like that, and reach that biter base. So we deal with that, and I don't think any of the others will be inside pollution range anytime soon, because there's plenty of trees in between them. But just to be sure, I decide to sort of continue on and deal with a couple more bases, just to make sure that there's no sort of urgent danger of if there's a huge increase in pollution, it still shouldn't be able to reach the bases over here and endanger Ironwood. There is a larger base a little bit further along that's not that far away, but I'm going to deal with that some other time, and for the moment it's not a problem. There haven't been any attacks on Ironwood from anywhere else that is still in existence. But once this is dealt with, we can get on with our work in the southwest desert, and focus on getting the town set up, getting the defences in place, and we'll leave the biter killing for the moment. There's some bases in the desert that we need to deal with before we can expand the wall very far, but there's a bit of work we can get done before then. And there is also a base that has appeared in the east that's launched 1 or 2 attacks on Newton that we'll have to deal with, but at the moment it's seeming quite quiet. It's right on the edge anyway, so it's not been a particular danger. But with that, our work over here is done, and we can make our way back to Fortin and continue our preparations for sending the train over to the new town. We'll get to the gap and just hop the tank over to the other side with, I think, just enough inventory space to manage it. But that's quite a convenient way of doing it. I couldn't do it with the car because the car's always loaded with a bunch of stuff, but it's quite a convenient way with the tanks, which actually don't take that much effort to carry, thanks to game magic and stuff. I mean, I can carry 20 trains, so the tank's nothing, really. But we make our way back, and we're going to leave that tank there for the moment. We've got another one waiting for us in Chipton, but I think I will also set up a new one in the new town. I feel like it's a good town to have its own dedicated tank. And it does sort of make sense. Fortin's got its own one, and so the new town can have one as well. But we get a bit of repair work done on various points in Fortin before sort of checking. We unloaded a bunch of random alien artifacts. We've got nearly 3 stacks of the things just hanging around. And I'm pretty sure we already have enough alien artifacts down in Flaskmere to keep the science running till it's done. But we'll take that over at some point, because we might as well. I mean, at some point we're going to start using it fairly soon, actually, for power suit stuff and maybe even module stuff at some point. But we send the train down to Chipton, and conveniently it arrives at a time when it's not going to disrupt any other trains trying to get into the station. But we'll take it down to the new town. And this time put a station in place, because I sort of forgot about that. Once I've got a station in, I can stop trying to, not trying to, but accidentally disrupting the operation of Chipton whenever I'm passing through. But we'll leave the car for the moment, because we can take the train over, set up a station, and then take the train back, send the train back to the station, and drive the car over at some point, and then we'll have all the various supplies that the car has handy. And we arrive at the location where there is a biter base very close by. And so we do set up a tank just in case we have to quickly deal with that. And we'll start working on walls. For the moment, it should be fine. There's no pollution here yet because there's no actual production going on. And there's very little stuff that can generate pollution. I think, vehicles can generate it, maybe? I swear I've seen that at some point, because they are using up coal and stuff and burning it, so they might be able to do that. But then perhaps because they move, it's a bit more difficult to sort of set that up properly. Who knows? For the moment, there's no danger anyway. And so the biters shouldn't have any trouble with the place, unless they decide to try and colonize, but even then that's fairly unlikely. And hopefully in the time it takes us to start setting up the wall, they won't just, walk past the town and start setting up bases further back. But we've got our wall in place, unfortunately using up a lot of our supply of walls that we were going to be using for the main defensive one. We will have to see about getting some more walls being made. But we do have a stone deposit right by this town, so that should be okay. I didn't put it inside the walls because it was a little bit far away, and I did momentarily forget that it existed, but we'll work something out for that. We can probably just put a mini compound around the thing to keep it safe. Something like that, and then have it being belted into the town itself, and then I guess put on a train somewhere or something. I'm not even sure where it's going to be going at the moment. We still need to set up a proper stone town. This isn't going to be it. The deposit's still pretty tiny, and there are some larger ones around that we could use, but I'll work something out eventually. In the meantime, we've got various bits of production around the place. We've got our quarries. We've got a random furnace in Colbury and an assembler in the main base that we can use for various stone-based things. But we're taking the train back because I realized, I started setting up the unloading system and everything, and I was all ready to start, getting the turret set up, until I realized I'd never actually set up any wiring. We don't have any power poles yet actually leading to this new town. So I bring the train back to Chipton so I can resupply and start working on the power poles, and it will get the power set up. We also need to make our way back to the main base for a moment to grab some more supplies. And we also set up the production of a few more walls. We put 5 more stacks of stone in, which will produce another 2 stacks of walls. But while we sort out all our supplies and then go and sort out the power poles, let's talk about the name suggestions for the town. We have 82 today to get through, so I guess we'll get started. It's been a while now since we've done one of these, but we have Amorton, Antibite, Area 51, Armour, Armorton, Armory, Arsenal, Baskerville, Benthamia, Bitermire, Black Mesa, Bloodhen. I'm not sure what hens have to do with anything. Maybe I'm missing something there. Bompton, Bonesford, Brick Beach, Casing Vale, Citterdown, Corpsemire, Desperation, Domingham, Escoshire. So no, Exoshire. That makes a lot more sense because of exo suits and such. We have EVA, Exo1, Exoter, Forgedale, Fort Ferrington, Fort Pork, Frameshire, Frontline, Groom Lake, Gun Barrel, Hadrian's Wall, Ironhead, Last Stand as in Las Vegas, Mailpost, Mechborough, Mechchester, Mechton, Milecast, Starkton, Milton, Morannon, Much Iron on the Man. I like that one. We've always got to have a Much Iron somewhere, or Much whatever on something. Neocastle, Neofort, New Forton, Oasis, Out to Lunch, Portgate, Power Sands, Powerton, Powerton Sands, Quipton, Redoubt, Sandland, Shielding, Skellevale, Skunkworks, Smithy Village, Southwest Meckham, Southern Flats, Southern Gate, Southgate, Spearhead, Spearton, Saint D, D for Defence, apparently. I think it's Saint, it's ST point, dot, full stop, whatever. So it's either Saint or Street, I guess. Starktown, Starklands, Sutia, Sootshire, Tarpton, the Citadel, Tinkerton, and of course Trumpwall and Trumpton. The similarities can not be ignored, but I mean, it's a different situation. They're actively like waging war against us. It makes it slightly more sense. Unspearbury, a weird one. Vanguard on the Dunes, Wall Shores, Walberg, Walleaton, Walton, Wandrum, Westpoint, and Xenomarch. And again, this was quite a difficult one to sort of pick from. I had to narrow it down multiple times over till I got to a sort of a short list I could make a decision from. But we'll get back to that. We are now working on our unloading system for the train. We've got the power poles all in place, and we can now actually get the inserters running. I'm trying to come up with a clever way of unloading the cars so that I can have a belt with ammo on one side and coal on the other. I eventually come up with it while still keeping, while still evenly using like both cargo wagons, so that we don't have to, so that we don't like cause one of them to run out and not another, and then cause trouble for some other town in the system or something like that. And that might end up becoming quite a common system that we have in place. It's going to be in, like, eventually every town if like, well, that's the current plan anyway. I mean, it might turn out that we don't need to, because if we do set up defensive walls around everything, then we shouldn't have to worry about a continuous supply of ammo for everything else, because the biters won't get that far. But for the moment, that's the plan, and we'll see how far we get with it. At the moment, we're just working on this one, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to cram this one full of turrets, like, to a ridiculous degree, because this place is probably going to be attacked quite a bit. At the moment, everything's really quiet because there's no pollution here, so there's no angry biters, but eventually the pollution will get this far, either because I set up more production in the town, or because I'm just generating more pollution in the rest of the county. But eventually the biters are going to be very angry, and they're going to be attacking that place a lot, and so we want it to have as much in the way of defence as Fortin, if not more. And I've ended up going with more, and having a gap of only 2 squares between each turret rather than the 3, which does mean that I wouldn't be able to use the current loading system I'm using of having the underground belts and everything, but that is not the plan. The plan is to have a more sort of, I guess, conventional. I don't know if it is conventional. It's more sort of my way of doing loading systems, not that I do them that often anyway, of having the belt run along behind the turrets, so that it's a little bit safer and the inserters are have a little bit less trouble with it. And the reason is that this time there is enough room for it. With all the previous towns I've been setting up, I've not accounted for fitting in a proper loading system. And so I've had to sort of improvise and use a loading system that sort of makes use of the space that I have available and goes underneath the turrets. But with this town, I knew what sort of system I was going for, so I deliberately pushed the wall out a little bit further so there would be enough room for the loading system and everything, for the belts and stuff. So we can have a much more reliable, much more safe system here that shouldn't have any trouble with burner inserters running out of power or anything like that, because they can't reach anything. Even so, that probably wouldn't happen anyway, because it would require the belts moving quite rapidly. Though maybe on the main defensive wall that we have in place, with the belts are going to have to travel quite a long way. So there could be a bit of a problem there. If there's enough biters attacking different places at once. But anyway, we start getting this in place. I'm working out how to do the corners to sort of not be too disruptive, and that works out alright. There's a way of using only like 2 belts rather than 4, but it puts the belts and the inserts in a slightly more dangerous location where the biters have more access to them, because the biters could just attack the burner inserters instead and stop the turrets from being loaded. But And that's fairly unlikely as it is. But yes, I'm using burner inserters again because I quite like the idea of them. I know that they're not the most power efficient and that they do have the danger of shutting down because of like issues with coal supply. But I like doing it that way. I like the idea of it, the fact that it's completely independent of the power system and I don't have to worry about like filling the town with substations. But as I'm setting them up, there is a bit of a problem with some of them running out of power, even though there is a coal line right there that they have access to. And it only happens on the side where the coal is on the further side of the belt than the ammo. So it only happens on this south line and maybe the east wall as well, and it doesn't happen on the north wall. And the only theory I can come up with, I didn't get a proper look at it because it was dark and stuff, but I think what's happening is that because the coal is on the opposite end of the belt and it's moving, the burner inserters are having to reach just a little bit further to grab them, and they're taking just a little bit longer to do so, and so they're running out of power just before they can actually load the coal in. I'm not sure if that's actually how it works, but that makes a bit of sense, and it explains why it's not happening on the other end, where the coal's a little bit nearer. So I think it's just that the burner inserters are having to reach just a little bit further to grab the coal, and they're using up their inbuilt power supply, which is a little bit annoying, really, because you'd expect the power supply to be set up so that they can definitely grab one bit of coal. And I mean, you could probably increase the amount of power they start with without making it possible for them to grab 2 items, and then prevent there being any sort of trouble with them not being able to grab that first piece of coal. But now that they've grabbed that first piece and they've loaded a second piece to make sure they've got enough, that should all be fine, and they should all run forever now as long as the coal supply continues. Though it does start to run out because I didn't actually load that much into the train in the end, and of course you need a significantly larger amount for the initial setup than you do for sort of standard running. But anyway, it is time to set up the nameplate and tell you what my chosen name is. And I had a bit of trouble working out where to put this. I ended up putting it just outside the town because there was enough room inside to not to not be covered up by future assemblers and loading systems and things like that. So I just put it outside. You can see it as you arrive. But yes, we narrowed it down eventually to 10 names. I got it to Wahlberg, Shielding, Southern Flats, Redoubt, Arsenal, Vanguard, Desperation, Spearhead, Southgate, and West Point. And I had to narrow it down twice more before I could finally pick my number 1 name. But eventually I got there, and the name that I picked, once I sort of work out how I'm going to arrange the letters based on some previous town names, the name that I picked is West Point. I think it's quite suitable. It's the westmost point of the rail network, and I imagine it will be that for a very, very long time. I don't have any particular plans to expand any further into the desert anyway. It's not the most welcoming of areas, but I think it's very suitable. I mean, even if we do advance into the desert, it's still a nice name in that it's one of those cases where the name no longer makes sense, because there are plenty of places in the world that are like that, where their name used to be extremely suitable and then stopped being suitable entirely because the circumstances change. So this shall be West Point. But I think I might make use of one of the other names as well. By the way, before I forget, West Point was suggested by Rune Mastor. Thank you for that. But yes, the name Redoubt also interested me a little bit, because I heard it before, but I couldn't remember what from. I eventually remembered that I think it was from Skyrim. There's a place that's called a redoubt, and I googled it to find out what a redoubt is, and it's quite interesting. It's sort of like it's a secondary defensive structure around a main one, and that was the reason that I ended up not giving that name to the town. I ended up going for West Point, because it eventually came down to West Point and Redoubt and stuff like that, with sort of Shielding a very close follower. I like that one. But yes, I think Redoubt actually makes more sense as the name for the wall itself. So I might end up calling the wall West Point Redoubt or something like that. By the way, it's spelt doubt as in doubtful, which is an interesting one. Apparently, that's just sort of it just sort of changed because people thought it was spelt wrong before, as some words often like end up being. But anyway, enough of that. We go back to Chipton. We sort out the copper supply, which has run out quite significantly, and we will leave that for the moment. By the way, I'm still not sure how we're going to do the processing unit, so please discuss more of that. But I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.